Hey y'all, it's Kate from Love Story, and just a quick note about the videos you're about to see. So this is my Mistborn Book 2 Well of Ascension reading vlog, and I think I mentioned it in one of the videos, but I started reading it in December, and then in November, and then when December started, I realized that I could fit it in for one of the prompts for the reindeer games. And so there's a little bit of a break on December 1st because I was like, hey, reindeer games just started. So I just wanted to put in a quick note about that, but I hope you enjoy the reading vlog. Let me know what you thought of the Well of Ascension, and don't forget to share with all your friends as read it too. Anyways, we'll catch you all soon. Bye. Hello, it's Kate from Love Story, and last night I started the Well of Ascension Book 2 in the Mistborn series by Brandon Sanderson. And I'm going to be doing, just like I did for book 1, I'm going to be doing a dedicated reading vlog for this book also, and probably book 3 once I get to book 3. So like I said, last night I just started book 2, and so what I've learned so far, we're 1 year after book 1 ended, and Elend is now king of Lutherdel. And there is an army that is threatening to attack the kingdom. But the army is led by Elian's father, Lord Venture. So that's insane. And we have this mysterious person watching Vin. And Vin is both like intrigued and also scared of this, I think she calls him the Watcher. She battles a bunch of assassins that are sent to kill her and then go and kill Eliand, and she, takes care of business there. And we meet again the creature that ate up Lord Renault to pretend to be him. Now he's a new person and her servant. And so it's fun seeing these characters come back. We have got Ham again, and Breeze, and all of the characters from the last book. So it's fun seeing these characters again, kind of like seeing old friends again. But that's my quick check-in for now, and I will check in again when I have more thoughts on book 2 of Mistborn series. Thank you, and we'll see y'all next time. Bye. Hey y'all, it's Kate from Love Story, and checking in on the Well of Ascension Mistborn book 2. Today is Friday, November 27th, and I believe this is my second check-in on this book. But there's a lot to check in because I've been reading it, and there's a lot that's happening already. Even though I'm told this is supposed to be a slower start than book 1, I'm really enjoying the pacing of Sanderson so far. So let's just get right into it. So someone other than the Watcher is now following Vin. And she's scared to death but won't admit it to anyone else but herself. And they believe that someone from the Western Dominance has sent assassins after Vin and then Eliant. And now the mist is coming out in the day and killing Ska, which it's never done that before. So that is a little crazy. My hair is a mess. We get to see Sazid using his magic more here than we did in book 1, and I am absolutely loving it. I love seeing Sazid at work. It's so exciting. And something that I have just noticed yesterday is, so in the Final Empire, which was book 1, in an epigram before one of the chapters, we had the words the Well of Ascension, which, as you know, is the title for book 2. And now in the Well of Ascension, we have the words in an epigram, the Hero of Ages, which is the title of book 3. And I absolutely love that. I think it's so clever of Sanderson to do that. And maybe I'm making more of a big deal of this than is needed. Maybe it's just like, yeah, he uses the words, but I think it's so cool, so clever. I was so excited to figure that out. Reactions to Sazid, I wish I could just pull out memories like Sazid. That would be so useful. Just like, hey, I need this memory, I need this knowledge, let me pull it out, and then let me put it back in my storage so I have it for a later day. That's so great. And then that bit about religion that Sazid talks about. So he says the Ska don't know what they have until they lost it. And then after they've lost it, they either don't care or don't have the energy or time to care or fight for their religion or figure out what their true religion should be. And Sazid, has all of this crazy knowledge about religions, this is something that really sits with him. He is always on a mission to try to find the right religion for everyone. In book 1, we saw him do it with Kelsier and Vin, and now he's trying to do it with the Ska, but they don't have the time or the patience for it, and they're like, what use is this to us now? This was something that the Lord Ruler did, and now he's dead, so why do we need it? We have other things to take care of, other things to worry about. And so I really liked that, like, deep dive, that quick dive into religion there. And Sazid struggles with the knowledge that he has. He's trying to give people his knowledge, but no one wants to take it. And it really made me love the character of Sazid even more than I already have. So that's my thoughts for now, and I'll check in again soon. Have a great day. Bye. Hello friends, checking in on Mistborn Book 2. So this is where I'm at so far, and I'll check in again later today, but more on that in a minute. So now we've got Sazid, who is essentially a teacher, which makes sense with all the knowledge that he has. And I think something's up with Marsh. We've got a second army that's now there to invade Luthadel, and Breeze is being chased. Vin distracts the people chasing Breeze so he can get away. And then they've discovered that there's another Chandra in the castle, and this could possibly be another team member close to Eliand and Vin. They have no idea. They just found the bones of whoever this is. Picked clean, just like Vin's Chandra. So yeah, if you don't remember from book 1, Chandras are the weird creatures that eat a body that it then turns into. I'm starting to have misgivings about Marsh. I don't quite trust him and what he's all about. But now I'm even more intrigued in Sazid and Chancy, I think it's called, something like that, than I was in book 1, because like the Keepers have all of this knowledge about countless religions, but not their own. So that's intriguing to me, to see how Sazid learns about this new religion he's just discovered on this mission with Marsh. And that's where I'm leaving it now. So because today is now December 1st, Reindeer Games with Shelf Space has started, and because I'm only about 115 pages into the Well of Ascension, I'm using this as one of my prompts. So I'm switching gears and using this as one of my prompts for Reindeer Games, and therefore this is now going to be turned into Reindeer Games reading vlog. I'm doing a vlog for each prompt that I do, so this is going to be so much fun. I can't wait. But that's it for now. I'll check in again later once I've read some more. Have a great day. Bye. Hey y'all, so picking up with the Well of Ascension by Brandon Sanderson. As you know, I'm starting from page 115 for the Reindeer Games Challenge, and that is the start of chapter 13. So during chapter 13, we get a lot of planning and scheming. So first we see Vin trying to figure out who the Chandra is that snuck into the castle. She keeps thinking it's not Eliand, but what if it is? That would be a crazy turn of events, and I wouldn't put it past Brandon Sanderson to do something like that. We know it's probably someone close to Eliand and Vin, but what if it is Eliand? That would be crazy. And then we see her out in the mist, and something has grabbed a hold of her in the mist that she was totally unexpected of. She's out running in the mist like she usually does, and she sees that shadow creature thing again, and it grabs her, and she gets away, but now she's shooken by it, and she's trying to figure out what it is. She's thinking maybe a Mistwraith, which is very similar, like a cousin to the Chandras. And they do a lot of the same things. They eat the same things to be, and they have a lot of shared qualities. So maybe it's a Mistwraith. We haven't seen a lot of those in the first book. We just heard about them. So this would be a really fun look into another mystical creature that we get. And then we jump over to Elliot and his crew, and they're trying to work out a plan on how to get the two armies outside Luthadel to fight each other instead of Elliot's army, because their army can't fight a war. They're not strong enough, they're not big enough, they're mostly just volunteers, and they're not ready for this full-on war, especially with two armies coming at them. So they're trying to figure out how to get the two armies to fight each other, which definitely sounds like something that Kelsier would have thought of, and I love that little look back at Kelsier from book 1, because we miss Kelsier, and I still can't believe he's dead. I'm still expecting him to show up at some point, because he can't be dead. And then at the very end of chapter 13, a mysterious woman who we believe has Firmanchimi, which is what Saeed has, was listening outside the room and spying, essentially, and she says that she has things to discuss with Vin and Elian, and that's where the chapter has left us, and that makes me want to keep reading. So that's it for now, and I'll check in with y'all again soon. Bye. The Well of Ascension. So I will also add my previous thoughts on the Well of Ascension, because I've already started this, just so you all know I'm not cheating, because we can use books that we started in November and just finished in December, just can't count the pages that we read. So let me show you where I'm at so you all know. Chapter 13 is where I'm starting on December. That's page 115. So no cheating, I'm only counting 115 on. So I'm going to go and read some more of the Well of Ascension, and I'll check in with y'all again soon. Have a great day. Bye. Chapter 14 in this book, and we meet Tindwell, who was sent by Sazid. She's the same type of character as Sazid, and she is supposed to teach Elian how to be a leader. Because she says no one is going to listen to Elian because he doesn't consider himself a leader deep down, and so he doesn't portray that to others, and they're not going to respect him the way they need to. And so she's there, sent from Sazid, essentially, to teach Elian how to be a leader. Vin thinks that the creature in the mist is now maybe the deepness that she read about in the Lord Ruler's journal back in book 1. So that's intriguing. And Vin won't test Elian with allomancy to see if he is the spy, which makes me suspicious that it really is Elian. So I can't wait to see what happens with that. Elian's got his new wardrobe, he's got his new attitude, and chapter 17, one of the things that I love is that Elian gets excited that Vin is reading and researching. He says, "Are you researching?" And she tries to pass it off just a little bit, but he's all excited because we rarely see Vin doing any kind of reading. She always, in book 1, she always made fun of Elian for reading at balls and stuff. But now she's doing research and reading the old logbook that she had from what she thought was the Lord Rulers, and we learn at the end of book 1 that was really not the Lord Ruler, but now she's trying to learn about this thing in the mist and the creature and see what he knew about it and what she can learn from there. We also learned that the Watcher is actually from Elian's father's army. His name is Zane, and this is going to be an interesting development between Zane and Vin going forward. And then chapter 18, it was mostly about politics, and Alan from the Library of Alexandria would love this book because he loves learning about politics and fiction that deals with politics. But we learned that Elian and Zane are actually half-brothers. So Zane is the son of Lord Venture, and he's also the spy for Lord Venture and the Mistborn for Lord Venture. So there's a lot wrapped up in the character Zane now. And we also learned that Zane is maybe a little bit insane. I'm not sure if he's actually insane or if he just thinks he's insane. If he hears voices in his head and he calls the voices God, and the voices tell him to kill everyone that he essentially comes across. And so I don't know if that's part of his powers or if he's actually insane. that's something that I'm sure we're going to learn as I get further into the book. But that is something that we've learned. One quote that I've pulled out from chapter 18 that really stood out to me was, a man was defined not by his flaws, but by how he overcame them. And I really liked that quote. And then the last thing that we learn in chapter 18 at the very end, after Zane tried to poison Strafe, Lord Venture, is that Lord Venture can burn tin. And he's got all of these messages there, but a lot of them are very useful and have different antidotes to poisons and whatnot. So that's where I left Well of Ascension. And now I'm going to make dinner and continue to read, and I might check in one more time tonight, but I might just leave it at that and check in again in the morning. So we'll see y'all soon, and keep reading. Bye. Hey y'all, checking in on day 2 of the reindeer games. First, before I move on to read some more, I'm going to check in about what I read last night. So last night in bed I read 2 of our 3 books that we're reading so far. I read another chapter of The Well of Ascension, chapter 15. So in this chapter, Marsh has disappeared from Sazid. We don't know where he went or why he's gone, and why he didn't tell Sazid. So that sounds very suspicious. Sazid, we've learned, can lose his memories if he doesn't rememorize them every once in a while. If he uses them too much, then, and he doesn't essentially reload, then they can disappear and he'll lose that memory from his powers. Sazid finds, he's on his way back to Luthadel, and he finds an entire village that's died of starvation. He finds one survivor in a house, and that person tells him that the mist stayed in the village for weeks, and these villagers were so terrified of the mist that they just stayed inside the whole time, and that's how they died of starvation. And he explains that the mist took people that were outside and killed some of them and let some of them survive, and those ran off, obviously terrified. And that's what happened in this village, and it reminds me of what Vin was going through with the weird shadow thing in the mist. So I'll be very interested to see how these come together. I love seeing more of Sazid. I love that we get like essentially dedicated chapters just to Sazid now, because he's still one of my favorites. So I can't wait to see how that goes. Hello friends, 16, we see Sazid use more of his magic, his powers. He finds an army of the Kolos, which are essentially like men that don't stop growing, and their skin is like this weird, like skin that doesn't really fit their bodies. And Sazid is learning about them through his knowledge that he has in one of his power mines, and then is captured to them and taken to Justice, who was used to be a friend of Elian's that we've met in the first book. And Justice is preparing an army of Kolos to go to, surprise surprise, Luthadel and take over Luthadel. And that would be the 3rd army now that's trying to take siege of Luthadel. And so then chapter 20, we have essentially Vin still trying to figure out who's the spy in Elian's little meeting of his council. And she has confirmed that it's not Breeze. And then at the very end we get Set's daughter, who comes to Luthadel into the castle and says she's there for Breeze, who we know is pretending to be a spy for Set. And so that's where I've left that, and now I'm going to go on to more reading, and I will check in with you all again very soon. Bye. Ooh. Let's see. Chapter 21, we have Set's daughter, who seeks asylum with the crew in Luthadel. Elian agrees and is surprised that the crew lets him make this decision without any real say against it. And then in chapter 22, we find out that the spy is not Ham, and we get a really deep talk with Vin and Orsir. So then chapter 25, so we get a couple things. We learn that Spook isn't the spy because he can use allomancy. Vin shops for a new dress, and then Luthadal's army and defense is tested, and they lose like dozens of men. It does not turn out good, but Eliand figures out that this is his dad's way of saying, I can attack you whenever I want. You are not defended at all. So it'll be interesting to see how Eliand responds to that. And that's my check-in for now, and I'm gonna go back and read and catch up on some pages that I lost yesterday. So I'll check in with y'all again soon. Bye. In chapter 26, Vin and Eliand talk with Strafe. Eliand thinks he's won, but Strafe is ordered Zane to go and kill Vin, which hasn't happened yet. So that's intriguing. Chapter 27, Eliand threatens Strafe using Vin. Zane got to Vin. Now she wonders if she's just a knife/weapon to them, to everyone. Eliand is deposed by the assembly, so he's no longer king, to his own doing, because he wrote the law that allowed them to do that. Chapter 28, we see Eliand trying to find a loophole around his own law that deposed him. And Tindwyl says that he needs to choose which he wants more, Vin and his love for her, or the safety of his own people. Chapter 29, Vin keeps hearing a thumping sound in the distance. She can't sleep, and Orsir doesn't like Zane. Vin thinks that she's figured out the deepness. Chapter 30, Sazid transcribes and translates a document he found on steel. We find out this is a Worldbringers document, and the Worldbringers were the prime inspiration for Keepers, which is Sazid's group. And then Vin discusses her theory of the mist being the deepness with Sazid. So, one last thought this week on Shelter in Place. There's like this weird thing going with Reed and Simone, and Reed and his infatuation with Cece. Like, he keeps bringing up that he wants to, you know, make love to her and whatnot, but it just seems so weird, especially when he's now making it with Simone, and he tells Simone this while she's naked in bed with him. It's just weird. I'm still trying to figure out that whole thing, but that's it for now, and I'll maybe check in later, or maybe just post this here. I haven't decided yet, but this will be posted today on Sunday, December 6th. So have a great day and keep reading. Bye. Hey y'all, just checking in again on The Well of Ascension by Brandon Sanderson. I've gotten through a couple more chapters, and so I just wanted to check in about what I have read since I checked in last. So we get Eliand and his crew meet with the assembly. Eliand is starting to understand Vin, and now he knows that she doesn't like being the knife, essentially. I don't know why he wouldn't know that, but now he knows that. In the assembly meeting, Eliand nominates the most noble member for Chancellor, which then forces that guy to, I think his name is Pennard, to nominate Eliand as king. And then one of the merchants nominates Lord Set, who was there at the meeting, and that was like a big reveal. In chapter 32, we learned that Set is at the assembly meeting, like I said, and with guards dressed as Scott, and we also learned that Set is disabled, so he's in like a wheelchair type. So that could be big information right there. And then in chapter 33, we learned that there's like this big conversation between Vin and Orsir about his religion and his people, the Chandra. And then at the very end, we learn that Vin thinks Captain Demo is the Chandra spy. And that's huge news to Vin, because she's been trying to figure this out this whole time, and she's just been marking people off her list who she's been able to confirm aren't the spy, but she doesn't have anyone that she knows is a prime target until now. So I can't wait to see where this goes. I can't wait to dig into more reading, and I'll check in again soon. Bye. Hey y'all, just checking in on The Well of Ascension by Brandon Sanderson. So we've gotten through a couple more chapters of this. Chapter 33, we see Vin thinks that Captain Demue is the Chandra spy. I think I've already checked in on that, but I'll cut that out later. Chapter 34, we see that another new character, Nordine, who is a cheerful former obligator, part of Elian's team. Him and his crew are trying to find a way around Set taking over Luthadel. Vin feels unneeded anymore from Elian, and Zane tells Vin that he's Elian's brother, which is a big revelation to Vin. In chapter 35, the team goes to dinner with Set. Set tries to undermine Elian, and Vin thinks that Set is Mistborn. So that's where I've left that Well of Ascension. I'm going to be reading more today, and I'll check in with y'all again soon. Bye. Hey y'all, just checking in now on, let me pull up my notes, Well of Ascension. So in chapter 36, we see refugees in Luthadel with Sazid and Breeze trying to help them. And Breeze and Clubs don't have faith in Elian's leadership. We see Alarian, who is Set's daughter. Vin thinks she is an Allomancer. We learn that Clubs is not the spy. Demue is meeting with a large group in the city at night, and we learn that he is one of the Church's survivors, and he's actually encouraging the Ska to have faith in Elian, and Vin thinks that absolves him from being the Chandra spy. In chapter 37, we see Tyndall plans to give information to Elian's enemies, but Sazid convinces her to stay. And that scene, I just love it. Tyndall says, like, convince me to stay, and Sazid says, please stay, don't go. And Tyndall's like, oh, okay, you've convinced me. And it's just so touching to see them together like that. The Third Army has now arrived at Luthadel, and Elian gains new confidence in himself. And that's where I'm at with the Well of Ascension, and I will check in with y'all later. Bye. Hey y'all, checking in on Well of Ascension. So got through a couple more chapters yesterday on this, and I just wanted to check in on this because a lot has happened. In chapter 38, we see Elian join the Church of Survivors to get votes for him being king. And then there was an attack on the assembly meeting by assassins. Vin had to fight them all off, and she burned her last medals to kill the last assassin, which she took his head off with her forehead. And I just have to read that passage because I can't explain it in any other way. So give me a second while I find it. Okay, so her vision darkened. However, as the thug constricted his grip, he leaned closer, closer, closer. She didn't have a choice. Vin burned Duralumin and flared her pewter. She flung her opponent's hands aside and smashed her head upward into his face. The man's head exploded as easily as the eyeball had earlier. I don't know how to explain that other than just read it out loud. So Elian saw that happen, and then he became horrified of Vin. The assassins went after Elian. We learned that assassins went after both Elian and Lord Set, and they think because of this it would strafe sent them, and Set just barely survived. The assembly then voted on Lord Penred as king. Chapter 39, we get a conversation between Strafe and Zane that confirmed they sent the assassins. Strafe still wants Vin dead, but Penred is handing the city over to Strafe. Strafe says he wants to be the emperor and will allow Penred to rule as subject king in return for the atium that Penred now has to find. Penred, we learn that has a spy on the cooking staff in Elian's house, and Zane is still trying to poisoning Strafe, and Strafe is finding it harder and harder to fight it off. So we may be seeing a weakness of Strafe. And then in chapter 40, we get Vin recovering from the crazy fight with the assassins and all the metal that she had to burn. Zane tries to convince Vin that Strafe didn't send the assassins. And I don't know if Vin actually believes him or if she's just playing him. She at least makes Zane believe that she believes him. I think she's uncertain at this point. But that's where I've left that. So I'm gonna go and read some more, and I'll check in with y'all again soon. Bye. Hello friends, checking in again. First let's check in on Well of Ascension. I am getting to that point where I can't stop reading it now. So, after these couple later today, all you'll hear about is Well of Ascension. So chapter 41, Elian and Vin both think they're not good enough for each other, but won't say it to each other. Chapter 42, Elian plans to tear down the buildings in the city to keep his people warm, basically using the wood from the buildings as fire. Aska has seen an inquisitor in the city. I'm thinking maybe Marsh, because we haven't seen Marsh since like the beginning of the book, really, since he left Sazid. Elian has figured out that by staying at Keep Hastings in Luthadel, Set is basically forcing his army to fight with Elian's if Strafe attacks. And Elian goes to see Justice with the Colossus alone. Nothing comes of this meeting, but Elian attacks a Colossus and Witten gains their patches and sword. Chapter 43, Zane says Demue is the spy and contacted Strafe before assassins were sent. Vin and Zane go after Set, and then Vin finds out after killing tons and tons of men and soldiers that Set has no Mistborn. She thought he was the Mistborn. So then she lets him and his son live. And that whole scene with Vin and Zane attacking the soldiers and taking over Keep Hastings is incredible. You just have to read it. I can't do it justice talking about it. Chapter 44, Vin hasn't returned yet. We find out that she's hiding in one of the other houses, abandoned, what do they call it? Thief hideouts. She says that she needs to leave Luthadel, and Elian is at a draw because he's told her he'll support whatever decision that she makes, but he doesn't want her to leave, obviously, for more than one reason. Besides, he loves her to pieces and doesn't want to be away from her, and he doesn't feel safe when she's not around because she's such an important weapon, and, you know, she's his friend. So, but he says, you know, to himself in his inner monologue that he's said he'll support whatever decisions he makes, so he supports this. And then in chapter 45, we get a lot of Sazid, which is one of my favorite characters, so I love it. Sazid believes, or at least wants to believe, that Vin might be the hero of ages. And that moment when Sazid says to Vin, "Oh child, just let yourself be loved," it just melts my heart. I love those moments with Sazid because he's just so full of love. And he's like that, you know, friend, uncle, father that Vin really needs. And we missed that while he was gone. And then Vin talks to Sazid about love, and she basically says, "I don't know if I love Elian or Zane more." And what is love? And Sazid can't really answer that question for her. It's something that she's got to discover on her own. And then after Vin leaves, Elian comes by and asks Sazid what if he's not right for Vin. And Sazid says to Elian that they're meant for each other. They're supposed to love each other, and that's how it is. And then we get Sazid and Tindwall again alone after Elian leaves, and Sazid thinks that the deepness is the mist, just like Vin thought, and also thinks that maybe Vin and Elian are both the hero of ages together. And maybe. That's kind of interpretation of what he said. But he definitely says that Vin and Elian need to leave the city before Luthadel falls, which is only a matter of time. And that's where I'm at right now with the Well of Ascension. I can't wait to keep reading today and hopefully finish this book off today for another prompt. And that's it for now, and I'll check in with y'all again soon. Bye. Hey y'all, so I've only gotten through 2 chapters so far of Well of Ascension, but there is so much that I happen to have to update you now before I read on. It's getting so good. Like, what I understand is a typical Sanderson ending, just like in the Final Empire. But so, in chapter 46, we get Sazid, who has this secret meeting with basically everyone except for Vin, Elian, and Spook. And they've agreed that Strafe will likely pull back and allow the Klaus to do the dirty work for him, and then he can come in and be the savior of the Ska. And they're trying to figure out how to get Vin and Elian out of Luthadel before it falls. Sazid wants to send Tindwall and Spook along with Vin and Elian to kind of take care of them and help them along. And we learn that Strafe has sent soldiers to kill Zane, but Zane killed them all because he's Mistborn. And then Zane goes and threatens Strafe, but then leaves him alone. And then we go right into chapter 47, and holy cow, holy crap, sorry for the language, but wow, what an incredible chapter this was. So Vin hears that thumping yet again, and she's figured out, she thinks that the thumping is actually the Well of Ascension that she's hearing. Vin tells Zane that she's decided to stay with Elian because he trusts her, and Zane doesn't trust her. She was just about to go off with Zane when she went to take a vial of metals, and Zane turned around because he couldn't trust her, and that told Vin what to do. So when Vin tells Zane this, he attacks her, and there is this insane fight between Zane and Vin. And we learn that Ostir is the Chandra spy, the Chandra spy, which is insane. Like, just like Vin says in the chapter, like, she thought of everyone except for the most obvious. And just when I'm starting to like feel sympathy for Ostir and kind of like him, all of a sudden we get this pulled on us. So Vin and Zane are fighting. Zane's got the aluminum, the ATM. Vin doesn't. Zane says that Vin was supposed to save him, but from what, really? What is Zane supposed to save him from? That's never answered. Himself? The voices in his head? Others? What? The mist? The deepness? We also learn, thanks to a hint from Ostir / what's his Tensoon, when he secretly tries to help Vin in this fight, that Allomancers, therefore Mistborns, can actually take control of the Chandra body. And she uses that sorry, I got distracted. So she uses that to get the ATM. But then another twist, it's not even ATM that Zane gave her before. It's lead covered in ATM, so it doesn't work. But Vin figures out how to trick Zane and his ATM. She says, like, Zane can see the future, and his reactions told me what I was going to do before I even did it. and therefore I could outwit him. And she was able to kill Zane. And now we've learned that because Zane is dead, the contract with Oshir/Tensoon is over, and he's got to go report back to his people, and he's sad to leave Vin because they've formed this really special bond now, and now Vin knows the secret of the Kandra, and that like Alamancers can use them, and so he's nervous about that, but he trusts that Vin won't use it against him or the Chandra. And that's how chapter 47 ends. Now, I just had to check in with y'all on all that because so much happened. Is so much craziness. Insane. But I'm going to get back to reading, and I'll check in with y'all again soon. Y'all gotta go read this book, Well of Ascension, Mistborn #2. It's turning into insane. See y'all later. Hey y'all, one last check-in for today before I leave to work to go home. So I got through two more chapters of the Well of Ascension, and I've learned, I think I have to find some place to put this in one of the prompts because it wasn't on the original TBR, but more on that later. So chapter 48, Eliand takes Vin to Sazid. Sazid picks Vin up. She survives. Everything's fine. Vin and Eliand get married with Sazid as the witness. So it's just the three of them during the ceremony. Vin surprised them on it, and she's like, yep, we're doing this right now. I don't care if I'm bleeding, if there's blood everywhere, we're doing it now. Sazid says he knows where to find the Well of Ascension, and this is going to be his way of getting them to leave Luthadel. But then we learn after they leave Sazid that this is a lie. He doesn't know where it is at all, and he's just telling them that it's back north to get them out. So that's an interesting turn for Sazid's character because he doesn't regularly lie like that. It's against his rules and his conduct as a terrorisman. In chapter 49, we see Vin and Eliand leave Luthadel. They fight some guards. They fight they do their thing. Vin saves them all from being captured. Tindwell stays behind even though it was part of the deal that she was going to leave. Eliand pissed her off, so she stays behind. But Spook goes with them. Strafe is sick with something, and then we learn that his mistress has been poisoning him this whole time, and he thought she was giving him the antidotes to the poison that Zane was giving, but really, Zane wasn't poisoning him at all. It was the mistress, and she's Zane's lover. So there's a crazy turn. Strafe kills her, and that's how chapter 49 ends. I'm in the middle of chapter 50, so I'll update on that later. But now I have to leave and go to the grocery store before I can get back home and read some more and finish this off tonight. So I'll check in with y'all later again today. Have a great day. Bye. Hey y'all, checking in on Well of Ascension. I finished this today, so I've got a lot to update on. If you've ever read a Brandon Sanderson book before, you know the ending is jam-packed with stuff. So let's just get right into it. So starting with chapter 50, we see Eliran went back to Set's army and tried to convince Set to return to Luthadel to help Breeze and the gang. Strafe is alive. He was out for 3 days straight. Strafe pulled his troops back and let the close attack, just like Zane suggested. A quote that I pulled out of this chapter is from Tindwell, and she says, "Hope is never wasted." We see the crew is planning the city defenses even without Eliand there, and Sazid and Tindwell are in love now. In chapter 51, Vin saves Eliand from the mist creature spirit. We learn that 5 men are following them, and that is Justice and his men. The army of Close are storming Luthadel's gates and ready to attack, and Justice has abandoned the Close in fear of his life. Eliand beheaded Justice with one swing, and ash is now falling again. Well, the Well of Ascension has been in Luthadel this whole time, Vin thinks, and Vin has warned Eliand about the mist spirit. Vin goes back to Luthadel to try to help save her friends, and Eliand and Spook are to follow behind. In chapter 52, Vin we see Vin thinking about her friends a lot in Luthadel, and this scene is heartbreaking. She says they're her first real friends, and she's already grieving for them. She thinks they're already all dead, and going back to Luthadel will only just confirm that for her. The first gate of Luthadel has fallen to the Colossus, and Sazid is called the Holy First Witness by the Ska. And they say he was the one that told them of what Vin did to the Lord Ruler, and so that makes him the Holy First Witness. And the Ska are there to watch him fight for them. The Colossus have reached Sazid's gate at the end of the chapter. In chapter 53, Clubs and Dachshund are dead, and Breeze is hiding. Set and Strafe are watching the massacre from afar. Set has decided that he'll give in to Strafe when the time comes. Vin made it back to Luthadel. She saved Sazid from the Colossus and is now fighting the Colossus on her own while Sazid saved the Ska. We learn that Ham is alive. His arm is wounded, but he's still alive. In chapter 54, Vin continues to fight the Colossus. Penrod tells Sazid that he can see there is no escape. The Colossus have all the exits essentially covered, and so they're not going to be able to escape the city. Then Vin learns that she can control the Colossus like she was able to control the Kandra with Allomancy, and so now she's got them under her control, and they don't have a lot to fear anymore. We learn that Tindawal is dead, and Sazid is grieving Tindawal. That scene with Sazid is so sad. It just gutted me. I pulled out a quote that summarizes how Sazid is at this point perfectly. He was a creature who knew 300 religions, yet had faith in none of them. And that just wraps up Sazid at that point. In chapter 55, Vin leads the Colossus and the rest of the army to attack Strafe, and she kills him. She comes flying in the air and just attacks Strafe and his horse. Set is going to help Strafe fight Strafe's men, and then we see Vin kill almost all of the generals for Strafe except for one, and that general, Penrod and Set, all swear their allegiance to Eliand, who Vin has now made emperor of the final empire. And Sazid now believes that Vin is the hero of the ages. He had suspicion about it before and he wanted to believe it, but now everything seems to be coming together for him to actually believe it. In chapter 56, the Keepers, who are Sazid's people as we learn, are either dead or captured by the Steel Inquisitors, and we get a whole conversation with Eliand and the people from Terrace about that. In chapter 57, we learn that all of the armies have made it back into Luthadel and are awaiting Eliand's arrival, and Sazid has been put in charge while Vin recovers from all of her fighting. And another quote about Sazid grieving Tindawal, and this wraps up the Sazid's character and all of the Keepers' kind of peril and their fight perfectly. The quote says, "Which is more potent, the pain of memory or the pain of forgetting?" Sazid wants to both remember and forget Tindawal because both hurt, and he knows both are important for survival. Eliand and Spook have returned to Luthadel, and so then Vin, Eliand, Ham, and Spook all go in search of the Lord Ruler's palace, where they find a hidden cavern below, and Vin believes that the Well of Ascension is there. Then we learn Marsh is there, and he attacks Sazid to try to delay Sazid from stopping Vin taking the Well of Ascension for herself. In chapter 58, Marsh and Sazid fight, and Vin and Eliand find an unknown metal over by the Well of Ascension. The Mist Spirit gave Eliand a deadly wound, and Ham saves Sazid. So then Vin goes into the Well of Ascension while Eliand is dying, and she thinks she can save him with the power that she's going to be getting from the Well of Ascension. But instead, Vin learns that she has to either use the power to save Eliand or give it up and release it, and she thinks that she's meant to release it because the Lord Ruler kept it for himself and he turned into evil. She doesn't want to become evil like the Lord Ruler, so she releases it. In chapter 59, we learn that Elend is still alive, but barely, and Vin makes him swallow that mysterious metal that they found, and now he's able to burn pewter, so he's got elemancy now. In the epilogue, we learned that Sazid learns the whole myth of the Hero of Ages was a lie to get someone to release the power of the Well of Ascension, and now he doesn't know what to believe because everything he's thought he learned is a complete lie. And all this time they thought that the power in the Well of Ascension was something good and something that would be able to save them, but it turns out to be something evil, and the mist continues to attack people and kill some people. And then at the very end we learn that Elend is now a Mistborn. He's released his powers and over by the Well of Ascension, and he is just like Vin, and so that's going to be exciting to see where that goes in the third book, Hero of the Ages. And so now I'm going to switch over to my very quick review. I'm going to try to, so I gave Well of Ascension 4.5 out of 5 stars, and I'm going to try to make this review as spoiler-free as I can for both the book 2 and the whole series, because I don't want to give away too many spoilers. So I enjoyed this book so much. It was so good. Brandon Sanderson is a master with words. I think I enjoyed book 1, The Final Empire, a little bit more than this book, because it set up, we got to learn the whole magic system and the characters for the first time, and there was a lot more action happening than there was in the Well of Ascension. But I still really enjoyed this book. I enjoyed seeing all of the characters' development. You get to see all of the side characters in much more detail than you have in the first book. And a slight spoiler for book 1 is that one of my favorite parts of the Well of Ascension is that we got to see so much more of Sazid and all of his powers and his thinking and his studies. He got so much more time in this book than he did in the first book, and he has become my favorite character now. I love Sazid, and I can't wait to follow Sazid more, hopefully in Hero of Ages. So some of my favorite quotes that I pulled out of Well of Ascension. At first, there was a slight stiffness to her posture. It was as if a piece of her still expected to be hurt. A primal sliver that couldn't understand that it was possible to be touched out of love rather than anger. And that quote basically sums up Vin, especially at the beginning of this book. All Vin knew until she met Kelsier's gang, and Elend was being touched out of anger, being hurt, being beaten. And so she kept shying away from physical contact. But when she fell in love with Elend, she learns, like this quote says, that you can be touched out of love and not just anger. The next quote says, "A man was defined not by his flaws, but by how he overcame them." And this is a quote from Elend's half-brother, Zane, but it is applicable to basically all of the characters in this series, at least so far. The next quote I have is about Elend, and it says, "Sometimes he talks like those books he reads," Vin thought. "Not like a normal man at all, but like words on a page." And if you're like me and you've read so many books, sometimes you start catching yourself talking like a book that you've been reading instead of maybe like your normal self. But if you've read enough books, you don't really know sometimes what your normal self, your normal way of talking is compared to the books that you've been reading. And so I was really able to relate to that quote. And then the last two quotes that I've pulled out are quotes about Sazid and his grief that he goes through in this book. He was a creature who knew 300 religions, yet had faith in none of them. And the second quote is, "Which is more potent, the pain of memory or the pain of forgetting?" And so, like I said, I gave The Well of Ascension by Brandon Sanderson 4.5 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed this book. I enjoyed seeing all these characters develop more and being able to be more attached to these characters than I was in the first book. But one of the reasons why I gave it 4.5 out of 5 stars is that I thought that some of the kind of political talks and the planning of it took away from the actual story. I enjoyed seeing that, but it felt like it was too much at times, and there wasn't enough action in this book until we got to the latter half of the book. So the first half felt like it was slow and it dragged on at parts. But overall, I really enjoyed this book. 4.5 out of 5 stars. Again, I highly recommend the Mistborn series if you're trying to get into adult fantasy. Brandon Sanderson is the way to go. So that's my review for The Well of Ascension, and soon, probably in January, I'll move on to book 3, which is The Hero of Ages, and I can't wait to see where this story goes. So that's it for now. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share with all your friends. If you've read the Mistborn series, let me know what you thought. What's your favorite book in this series? What are your favorite characters? Who do you love? Who do you hate in this series? I'd love to talk to you more about it. Join us on Discord so we can talk more about it. And keep reading. I'll see y'all soon.